Brother smirked. "You'll miss this house when we're gone." And I realized I'd only missed the anyway. I didn't answer him. I was standing in the half-empty living room, fingers digging into the roll of packing tape, so hard the plastic crinkled. The afternoon light came in too bright through the bare windows, hitting the marks on the carpet where the sofa had been for 20 years. He was leaning in the doorway like he owned the place, arms folded, flannel sleeves pushed up, watching me hesitate over a cardboard box full of chipped mugs. "You will," he added, like he was doing me a favor by predicting my nostalgia. "All of this. You'll be crying about it in your little shoebox apartment." My mouth tasted like dust and old coffee. Behind him, I could hear Mum banging around in the kitchen, drawers slamming harder than necessary. We'd lived in that house since I was 6. I'm 28 now. My brother, Liam, is 32 and still acts like those 4 years are a lifetime of seniority. Our parents finally decided to sell after Dad's second heart scare. And because the market is hot and it's time to downsize. Translation: cash out, move to the coast, and pretend the last 2 decades were idyllic. I hadn't slept under that roof in 3 years. Not since I moved out with 2 garbage bags and a laundry basket, but this was the official ending. Last weekend before settlement, the final kids, come help pack your rooms guilt trip. The thing is, Liam was right in one way. There are things I'll miss. I just won't miss what he thinks I will. He thinks I'll miss the big things. The stupid bay window he used to sit in like a prince while Mum brought him snacks. The backyard where Dad made us pull weeds like we were in a chain gang. The faded family photos on the staircase where I'm always just out of frame or blinking. That's what he's sentimental about. The stage, not the show. I'll miss the small dumb stuff. The way the hallway light used to glow under my bedroom door when everyone else was asleep and it was just me and the silence and whatever book I was hiding under the covers. The smell of oven cleaner and lemon when Mum went on one of her 11 p.m. scrubbing rampages. The loose floorboard in my room that I used as a diary, shoving folded notes and ticket stubs into the gap because writing how I actually felt on paper was too risky. "I'm not going to miss the house," I said finally, putting the tape down. My voice sounded flat even to me. "I'll miss my stuff." Liam snorted. "You don't own anything worth missing." He said it casually, like he was stating a fact about the weather. That's always been his power. He doesn't need to scream. He just has to say something like it's obvious, and everyone in the room rearranges themselves around his version of reality. It was the same dynamic our whole childhood, him, the golden boy who just says it like it is, and me, the sensitive one who takes everything the wrong way. If you'd walked into our house on a random Tuesday when we were kids, you would have seen framed school awards with his name on them, a proud soccer mum bumper sticker, and me quietly doing the dishes while Dad complained that I never helped. I moved out right after my 25th birthday. That night, Mum had made a big dinner, roast lamb, potatoes, the works, and halfway through the meal she asked when I was going to start paying proper board instead of this token nonsense. I was handing Liam the peas when she said it, and he laughed with his mouth full. "Yeah, you're basically freeloading, sophomore. I paid more than that when I was at uni." He'd never paid a cent. But that didn't matter. He said it, so it became true. Dad frowned at me like he'd just now noticed I existed. "How much are you on again?" he asked, even though I'd told them the week before when I got my raise. The conversation went downhill from there. It ended with Dad saying, "If you don't like it under our roof, there's the door." And me, for once in my life, actually standing up and walking through it. I remember how quiet the street had been when the front door clicked shut behind me. Felt like leaving a theater mid-play. I stayed on a friend's couch for a month, then in a share house with moldy ceilings and a cat that only liked me. Then finally in a tiny studio with loud pipes and a view of the next building's brick wall. It was still the first place that felt remotely mine. I bought my own cheap plates. I picked my own curtains. No one rearranged my stuff or complained I was making a mess by existing. My parents took it personally. Of course they did. According to them, I stormed out over nothing and let my pride get in the way. According to them, they gave me everything, and I repaid them with disrespect. Liam parroted them all word for word. Sunday group chats turned into Mum typing essays and me typing nothing. Eventually, I muted the thread and trained myself not to flinch every time my phone buzzed. So when Mum called 2 weeks ago and said, in that brittle voice, "We've sold the house. The buyers want a quick settlement and we need you to come sort your room out," it felt less like an invitation and more like a summons. "I don't have much there," I said. "Well, then it won't take you long, will it?" She snapped, then softened. "We're doing this as a family, Sophie. Your brother will be here." As if that was a perk. Now here we were, doing it as a family. Dad was resting his heart in an armchair while he shouted instructions every time one of us touched something. Mum ping-ponged between sentimental and furious. Liam moved through every room like a foreman, deciding what went in the trailer, what went to charity, and what went in the skip. The first time he tossed one of my boxes toward the trash pile, I grabbed his arm. "That's mine." He looked down at the box, then back at me. "It's junk." Inside were my old sketchbooks, terrible drawings, mostly, uneven eyes, hands that looked like bunches of bananas. But they were mine, little pieces of me trying to exist in corners between arguments and chores. "I want to keep it," I said. "I'll take it with me." He shrugged. "Whatever. Just don't leave crap here expecting Mum to store it." "They're not your storage unit anymore." I felt that in my teeth. Not your storage unit anymore. As if they'd ever been. "Sophie," Mum called from the kitchen. "Do you want these plates from your 21st? She held up one of those cheap, glossy plates with 21 and a cartoon champagne glass printed on it. My name was written in metallic marker, smudged from years of clumsy washing. I remembered that night. Liam's friends loud in the backyard, Dad grilling and explaining to anyone who'd listen how he'd worked hard so my kids could have a proper home. Mum pushing cake on everyone to show what a great hostess she was. I also remembered crying in the bath half an hour before guests arrived because Mum had said my dress made me look pregnant around the middle. "You can toss it," I said. Liam rolled his eyes. "God, you're dramatic. Normal people keep things from milestone birthdays." "Normal people don't spend their milestone birthdays being told they're ungrateful." I snapped back before I could stop myself. My ears went hot. The room went sharp. He smirked. Here we go. There it was. The script we'd all been reading from since we were kids. Sophie starts something. Liam is reasonable. Parents sigh about the drama. To be clear, there was no physical abuse in the obvious sense growing up. No CPS visits. No broken bones. On paper, we were that slightly strict but fine family. Packed lunches, family holidays at caravan parks, movie nights. It's the stuff in between that messes with my head. Like, if I was 2 minutes late home from school, Mum would be waiting in the doorway, arms crossed, demanding to see my train ticket as proof. If my phone battery died, Dad would call everyone in my contact list until he found me, then shout so loud I'd have to hold the phone away from my ear. When I cried, it was crocodile tears. When I went quiet, it was sulking and manipulative. Meanwhile, Liam could crash Dad's car at 17 and somehow the story became about how stressed Dad was. You have no idea how this affects me, he'd say, holding his chest like a soap opera heart attack. Mum would bring him tea and pat his shoulder while I quietly Googled buses, working out how to get to school now that the car is off limits thanks to your brother's mistake. I don't think my parents ever set out to make me the scapegoat. But once a role settles in a family, it sticks. Liam was the golden child. Sporty, loud, funny in that slightly mean way adults find charming. I was the quiet one who read too much and asked why too often. You'd think being quiet would make things easier. Didn't. It just meant they could project whatever they wanted onto me because I wasn't loud enough to contradict it. You sure you don't want this? Mum asked again, waving the plate like a flag. I'm sure, I said. She put it in the bin with unnecessary force. I could almost hear her thoughts. Ungrateful, dramatic, nothing's ever good enough. We spent hours like that. Pack, comment, dig, repeat. At some point, I drifted upstairs to my old room and shut the door. The poster marks were still on the walls, faint rectangles where sunlight hadn't bleached the paint. My single bed had been stripped, but the mattress still had a dip where my body used to curve. The wardrobe smelled like dust and cheap perfume from the bottle I hid there in year 10 so Dad wouldn't complain about chemical smells. I knelt by the loose floorboard out of habit. For a second I thought maybe I'd imagined hiding things there, like one of those false memories you build around childhood. But when I pressed the edge with my thumb, it popped up, just like it used to. Underneath, there were still folded bits of paper crammed into the gap. My throat did that tight thing it does before I cry. I pulled them out carefully. Old movie ticket stubs, a ripped photo of me and my best friend from school, both of us in hideous uniforms, tongues out. A receipt from the first time I bought a book with my own money. A tiny notebook, pages warped from humidity. I opened it. On the first page in my horrible year 8 bubble handwriting. If anyone is reading this, put it back, thanks. On the second page, smaller. I think if I disappeared, they'd only miss who they thought I was. Not me. It winded me. I sat back on my heels and stared at the words until they blurred. Whatcha got there? Liam's voice behind me made me jump. He'd opened the door without knocking. Of course he had. Finally found your secret stash of drugs? He joked. I snapped the notebook shut. Just old crap. He stepped into the room, looking around like a landlord inspecting a rental. Man, this place is tiny. No wonder you were so desperate to escape. It was meant as a dig, I think. Or maybe a half admission. Couldn't tell. He nudged the floorboard with his foot. Remember when Dad used to say this room was a privilege? Like you didn't give up the bigger room when I had exams. I did remember. When he was sitting his final year, Mom and Dad decided he needed peace and quiet. So I moved into the smaller room without argument because he has so much pressure on him right now, Sophie. You can cope. You're the resilient one. They never moved me back. Yeah, I said. I remember. He was quiet for a second, which is rare. Then he said lightly, you were always so dramatic about it. It's just a bedroom. I stared at him. You realize it wasn't about the square meters, right? He shrugged like he didn't care. Look, I'm not doing the whole therapy talk thing with you. We're packing a house, not revisiting our childhood trauma. He said trauma like it was a meme. Right? I said, because everything was fine. Perfect family. Nothing to see here. He rolled his eyes. It was fine, sophomore. You had it good. You still do. You just like to complain. Honestly, you're going to miss this house more than any of us. That's when he smirked and said the line about missing it when they're gone. And that's when I realized I'd only missed the bits of this place I never got to claim properly. The quiet, the secret hiding places, the tiny pockets of safety I carved out. Not the house as they remember it. Not the home they brag about. I won't miss this, I said, standing up. My knees cracked, arguing over who's allowed to feel what about a pile of bricks. Oh my God, he laughed. You sound like one of those Reddit posts you're always reading. He meant it as an insult. Fair enough, I guess. I do live on Reddit more than I should. But I also know for a fact that if I posted this whole situation in some family subreddit, half the comments would be, yeah, sounds familiar, you're not crazy. Later, when Mum shouted up the stairs for us to come sign some papers, it turned out to be a little thing the buyers wanted. Confirmation that we didn't have any claim to assets being left with the house. It was standard stuff, apparently. My parents had already signed. Liam signed without reading because of course he did. I took my time with it. Read each line. I could feel Dad's impatience prickling across the table. It's just legal wording, Sophie, he said. We're not trying to screw you over. I never said you were, I replied. You didn't have to, he muttered. It's in your tone, my attitude, my face. I spent most of my childhood being told my feelings were wrong because they made someone else uncomfortable. Now I read contracts twice, and apparently that's a problem too. After we signed, Mum launched into a speech about their new place near the beach. How we'd, of course, come for Christmas. How maybe we could reset as a family in a fresh house without all this negativity. I nearly choked. The idea that a different set of walls would magically erase decades of patterns is very on brand for them, honestly. We'll see, I said. Her mouth pinched. Don't say it like that. Like what? Like you don't care about us, she snapped. You know, not everything revolves around your feelings, sophomore. I could feel that teenage version of me rising up, the one who always ended up apologizing for existing. I looked down at the ink drying on my signature and deliberately did not swallow it this time. I do care, I said. I just also care about myself now. Both can be true. Liam whistled under his breath. Deep, he joked. Dad shook his head like I was some disappointing TV show. Honestly, you get one therapist and suddenly you're too good for your own family. I haven't actually seen a therapist yet, for the record. I downloaded the forms. That's as far as I got. But apparently even thinking about it shows. We finished packing just before sunset. The house looked bigger empty. The ghosts of furniture shapes on the carpet, hooks on the wall where photos used to hang. Mum wiped down the kitchen counters 3 times, then stood in the doorway of each room like she was blessing them. Dad huffed and puffed carrying one small box, then loudly talked about everything I did for this house, while not letting anyone else help him. When it was finally time to leave, Mum insisted we take a last family photo on the porch. She set her phone up on a timer on the wheelie bin. Come closer, she said. You two look like strangers. We are strangers, I thought. We just happened to share a last name and a history. I stepped closer anyway. The porch boards creaked under our combined weight. Liam hooked his arm loosely around my shoulders like we were kids again. To anyone walking past, we probably looked normal. Happy even. Sun behind us, house glowing warm, family smiling. Say cheese, Mum sang. I didn't. I just looked straight at the camera and tried to memorize how it felt, standing there half in, half out of a place that had never quite been home. We locked up after. Dad did his dramatic one last look routine. Mum cried a bit. Liam clapped him on the back and said something about, next chapter, old man. They got into their car. I got into mine. My little hatchback smelled like takeaway coffee and dog hair from my friend's Labrador that I'd driven last week. It smelled like my life, basically. As I was about to pull away, Liam tapped on my window. I rolled it down. What? I asked, more tired than annoyed. He leaned down, resting his forearms on the open window frame. Seriously, though, he said, you'll miss it. I thought of the notebook under the floorboard, now in my passenger seat. That year 8 version of me who believed she was unmissable. I thought of future Christmases in whatever beige coastal townhouse they bought, where the script would be the same but the walls would be different. Maybe I'll miss parts of it, I said, but I won't miss feeling like a guest in my own house. He blinked, thrown for once. You're so weird, he said, but there wasn't much heat in it. Anyway, text Mum when you get home or she'll have a fit. I'll text her, I lied. He walked back to their car, waving his keys. I watched them drive off in my rearview mirror. The house sat there, suddenly just a building. Red bricks, brown roof, peeling paint on the eaves I'd always meant to repaint one summer that never came. On the drive back to my studio, I kept waiting for the big wave of sadness to hit. Didn't. Instead, it came in small stings. Passing the park where I used to sit on the swings until my hands went numb because I knew going home meant another argument. Driving by the milk bar where I'd buy one $1 lollipop just to have an excuse to be there for 10 minutes more. When I got back to my place, I carried the box of sketchbooks and the little notebook upstairs first. They looked ridiculous on my tiny kitchen table. Old life, new life. I made myself a cup of tea in my chipped mug, the same one I'd kept for the past 3 years because it was the first thing I bought that no one could tell me not to. I sat down and opened the notebook again, flipping past the childish handwriting, the lists of books I wanted to read, the tally marks for days without making Mum cry. That one hurt. On one page I'd written, I hope one day I can leave and not feel guilty. I traced the sentence with my fingertip. My phone buzzed. Mum, in the family group chat. Everyone home safe? Sad day, but exciting new beginnings, red heart. Liam, yep, just got back. House already feels weird being empty lol. Then, immediately, a photo of us on the porch. My face, my brother's arm, my parents' hands clasped in front of them. She'd added a caption, "So many beautiful memories in this house." We were so blessed. I stared at it for a long time. Then I opened a new chat with just her and typed, "Home safe." That was it. No heart emoji. No love you. Just factual. She replied with a thumbs up. I don't know, maybe this whole story sounds petty written out like this. Maybe you read it and think, yeah, my parents did worse, you're fine. I keep minimizing it even as I type, because part of me still thinks I'm being dramatic for feeling relief more than sadness about losing my childhood home. But sitting here in my quiet little apartment, cup of tea cooling on the table, my own lamp casting a soft circle of light, I realize something I wish I could tell the year 8 me who hid notebooks and floorboards. It's okay if the thing you'll miss about a house is the version of yourself you can finally let go of. It's okay if you don't want to follow your family into whatever new place they buy and replay the same old script. I'll probably always have complicated feelings about that house. I'll probably dream about it for years, walking through those rooms and finding new secret hiding spots that never existed. But when my brother says, "You'll miss this house when we're gone," he means the museum version, the curated narrative of, "We did our best and it was enough." What I'll miss are the tiny rebellions, the book under the covers, the floorboard diary, the quiet knowledge that even back then, some part of me knew I deserved more than being a background character in my own family. And that part of me left today too, in a good way. It got in the car, buckled itself in, and came home with me.